And we're live.
Recording now. The red light is on.
Yeah, but actually we're not going to be live.
Are we just riffing?
Riffing? What does that mean?
No plan. Kind of going. Feeling the vibe. That kind of stuff.
You know, man, it's difficult. You and I talk a lot. It's difficult sometimes for me not to bring things up that I want to talk about on the podcast just with you in like general conversation. Because like we're basically best friends that see each other pretty frequently. So it's just so common and so easy to like have all these conversations. But I was thinking about this yesterday because I was driving home and like, you know where I live. There's some sketchy areas around here, right? Well, there's also, you know, a decent amount of homeless people and just kind of people walking the streets. And I really try to keep an open eye to it because it's not something I grew up around. So you kind of start to witness what kind of people there are out there in the world. And yesterday I pulled up at a light and these two like homeless people, it was like a guy and a girl, and they were like having like an argument, like a pretty heated debate, you know? Mm-hmm. And it got me thinking, I was like, dude, could you imagine like homeless people fighting, you know? Not like UFC, like put them together and like have them brawl.
But like just having a dispute?
Well, just in general, I mean, that's two people with like really nothing to lose. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, get sent to jail? Like, they probably don't even care. Like, and they probably don't even get sent to jail because if anybody's gonna call the cops, they're probably just gonna like.
Well, that's what makes them dangerous is they have nothing to lose.
Exactly. It was crazy to me, and I was watching them, and like, unfortunately, the light turned green, and I didn't get to see the end of it. But they were really going at it, and I was like, that's so crazy. This could end in so many different ways. And, yeah, they literally have nothing to lose.
Well, I live downtown Fort Worth, and you know the jail's right there, and so I'm sure you know homeless people either get arrested, they put them in jail for a night or something, and then release them. So you usually see some pretty deranged people around the jail because it's right there in downtown. It's right where I drive by. It's a very busy part of town, and yeah, it's just some of the things that I see. Like I saw one dude, he literally was just laying down in the middle of the sidewalk. He was taking a nap. He didn't have like a sleeping bag, didn't have anything. He just was laying down planking basically.
Just a concrete nap.
And then I saw another guy that was digging in the trash. It was very sad, honestly, but it was kind of funny in a way because he just was like, he looked around like he was like conscious about, is anybody seeing me? Like, is anybody watching? And then he goes in and grabs something, you know, eats it.
Oh man, I feel bad.
Yeah,
I feel bad for people like that. But I've been at times. It's always so difficult. I try to give, like, if I have some loose cash on me or whatever, I try to like help out people whenever I feel that they're legit, which is a very tough call to make. And like sometimes you just have to like put it in their hands basically, or God's hands, or you know, just like whatever. I did my part. If they use it poorly, that's on them. But I've witnessed firsthand. Whenever we were coming back, I was on a work trip. We were coming back from Vegas, and we were driving through. And we stopped at a gas station. And there was a homeless guy, and he came up, and there was a McDonald's at the gas station, and he was like, hey, you know, could I have some money? I just need to go in and get some food. Like, I'm really hungry. Like, could I just have a couple bucks or whatever? Yeah. And so this guy that was with us, Colton, he gave him like $5 or $10 or whatever. And he was like, yeah, here you go. And he just immediately walked down the road. Like he didn't even go into the McDonald's. And so we were kind of giving him shit about that. We are like, hey man, like you realize you just gave him some drug money. And he told us too, he's like, well, I kind of have the same philosophy in the sense that like, I just give it to him and like,
like who are we to say?
Yeah, exactly. Like they can work that out later on. That I did my part, if anything.
Right.
And literally that same trip, we stopped at another gas station down the road, and there's a van next to us, and he's like, hey, could I get some money to get to this hospital? My wife is there, and she's like having our baby or something, but I'm out of gas and I need to get there. And we were coming through Flagstaff area at the time. It had literally snowed 36 inches like 2 days before. Like roads were all like super iced over. And he was like, hey, I really just need to get there, and I don't have anybody else that could take me, this and that. So
was he homeless?
No, he wasn't homeless. He just had like an old. He was obviously like
less fortunate.
Yeah, he had an old beat up van.
Yeah,
and like really old clothes and everything, and just basically was like, yeah, could be a drug guy, could not be. I don't know. He didn't have any money, and so Colton like filled his tank up for him, and we were like, dang, like that's kind of like, you know, that's really nice, you know. And that guy was obviously in an unfortunate situation, but then as he starts to leave, we start to notice like, well, the van actually had no license plates. And we're like, oh, that's sketchy.
Could have been jacked.
Yeah, and then if you looked at the back, actually the back window was busted out. And we were like, oh, bro, you just filled
connecting
this guy.
the dots there.
Yeah, we're like, you just filled this guy's tank up to let him keep getting away in this van that he obviously stole.
What do they call that whenever you help? You know, like there's like a term for it. Whenever
you're like accessory to a crime or something like that. And so then Colton calls the police and like reports it. He like gave him a full description. He was like, yeah, well, I just filled him up at this like Love's gas station that we were at, and I gave him everything. And he was like, all right, I did my part. He's like, I gave him the money, and like I feel bad, but like I did my part too, because like I called the police, and it was like, just a funny situation.
You just gave him distance on us.
Yeah, exactly. You filled him up and let him go. Like,
yeah.
But I don't know. It's always like one of those things you got to make a judgment call. And it's been very like impactful to me at times that I have given to people, and you can tell like the gratitude that they have, and like that there's like legitimate appreciation there, and like not like legitimate appreciation so they can go buy drugs, but that they were really struggling or really needed it.
Well, if you think about it, how many times people say no, you know what I mean? Like they have to go through, 10, 20 people maybe before they even get a yes or like someone to give them a few bucks. I do the same thing. I keep a couple, dollars. I don't carry around cash hardly ever, but I'll keep a little bit in my truck just for that reason alone. Just, sometimes you just get a feeling like, okay, I'm going to give this to that person. I did actually the same thing. It was towards the beginning of the whole lockdown COVID stuff. And I was stopping to get gas at a QT, and this kid comes and he's got a heavy accent. Like you can tell he's foreign, but he's like European or something. I don't even know where, but heavy accent, but he can speak English well enough. And so he's like trying to explain to me, hey, like we don't have any gas, or like in a van, there's a bunch of people in the van, like it seems like a family. He's like, we're trying to get to Oklahoma City, and like we just don't have any, we came here from wherever they're from, and we don't have any money, and you think you could just fill us up or give us a little bit of gas? I was like, yeah, for sure, because that's a family. That's that was one of those times where my heart was saying yes, like help them out.
Right.
And then, so like I'm filling them up, right? And it's kind of awkward because like I'm standing there at the pump, I put in my card. I'm not gonna let them do it. I'm gonna fill it up. And so it was kind of awkward, kind of standing there because you don't really know what to say while you're filling it up and stuff. And they
just like you fill it up.
And their
like
parents don't speak English, at all. Like they had like I think the guy was saying a couple words to me, the dad, and they kept asking me about he knew. Owner of Microsoft. What? My mind's blanking. Owner of Microsoft or started Microsoft. Bill Gates. He goes, Bill Gates. Bill Gates. The vaccine, and he like was trying to say something about those two things. So he like looks at his kid and says like his language, says something, and the kid goes, "Do you know when Bill Gates will have the vaccine ready?" I was like, dude, I have no idea, man.
Call him and see. Real quick.
Like I don't have his phone number, or email, man. No way to get in touch with him. But I hope y'all find y'all's way. So like, that was kind of an interesting kind of run in, and I hope they found there. But and then they started, which kind of gave me a bad feel, was like, oh well, now can you go get us food inside? So they kept like wanting more and more and more, and I was like, this is where I am.
Well, that's a tough situation too, because like if you try to put yourself in their shoes, right? I would ask too. Like at some point, you're like, well, it doesn't hurt to ask. Like the worst they can say is no, and like they start getting one thing, and they're like, okay, well maybe you're gonna be like really generous. And I'm honestly like a pretty generous person. Like I have like a heart for that kind of thing, and I feel terrible, but sometimes you do have to say no and just be able to go on. But it's funny. So you bring up them wanting to know about Bill Gates vaccine. Well, I recently got microchipped.
There you go.
So we can segue into the COVID talk.
When are you going to get activated? That's the real question.
I don't know. I mean, I got both rounds of all. Which one did I get?
Which one?
Pfizer. I got Pfizer. They're recalling the Johnson & Johnson one, right?
It's causing blood clots in about 6 people so far. So
which is crazy because 6 people is really just a drop.
Out of
and then they give
how many people has gotten it?
Of those out, but. Whatever, I got the Pfizer one, and I had no issues the first time, but the second time, dude, that second shot kicked my ass. Like,
did it make you feel bad?
Yeah, for like 2 days. I had a terrible headache. My arm was so sore. I might have used it as an excuse not to go to the gym, but like my whole right shoulder was like.
Well, I've heard the same thing from other people that that soreness.
And I felt so tired. Just my body felt like drained. But obviously, I don't think it's anything compared to what COVID would have feel like, and. Whatever. I mean, I got it over with now, and I feel fine.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's like, I joked with the person giving me the second shot. I was like, so that's it, huh? Now I'm microchipped, like good to go. And she like laughed, but I was like, it's crazy to me that people think that that's a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's so far fetched. Like that's so impossible of an idea. Like
I mean, it's
maybe
not,
in the future,
yeah.
but like right now, like there's no way that they would have technology small enough to go into the needle and like the syringe, like the dose that you're getting. Like there's no way that they would have like micro tracking chips. There's no way that they have power for those that they could actually last. And there's no way that they would mass produce those and put those out to the public just so that they could see me go to work and back home every day. Like,
well, it's easy with like any conspiracy, and I would consider that a conspiracy of like,
oh, definitely a conspiracy.
You can make it sound like it could be a realistic thing. Like you can take it far enough to where, you know, people are convinced. Even pretty educated people might be convinced that that's the case with vaccines.
Well,
but
if you go down a rabbit hole, start like when people put in front of you dots and then start connecting them, which is essentially like what a conspiracy theory like YouTube channel would do to you.
Yeah,
I can understand why people are like, oh shit, like that's totally right.
And when you're not an expert in it either, so you don't have the knowledge to debunk the facts that are given to you. Like, so you just don't have the knowledge to combat
rebuttal,
it.
Like in your head, you really don't have, and you're probably not around. Like you're not talking with people that are educated enough. Like you and I aren't even educated enough really to argue too much against it. Like the tracking thing is kind of like that. That's a far stretch, right?
Yeah.
But then there were also people saying that it could be linked to population control by making women infertile or like different things like that. And you're like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Like maybe this is.
I mean, there are countries that do that. So like, you know, it's not far fetched.
A real thing, but. I
think people have a tendency to think that humanity is more malicious than when, yes, humanity has done some pretty awful things, but I think as a whole, you know, we're getting better. You know, if you really compare it to like the past, things have gotten a lot better, and I think people just tend to over exaggerate the malicious intent of humans and the people that are like in power.
Yeah. Well, there's a spotlight. There's a big spotlight with social media on every little thing, right? Yeah. So if somebody finds something that they think is wrong and they can, like enough people genuinely agree that that's wrong, then there's a big spotlight on that. It becomes very like widely known and widespread. And then it's very difficult, I think, to do things like that and get away with it.
Yeah.
And not just us, but like other countries, you know, like if we saw that China was doing something, like we quickly put a spotlight on that too. And we're like, hey, like, you know, we have an opinion. I don't know what we always do about it, but we start to form opinions. It starts to be talked about. People start to recognize. And like, I think it prevents some things from going too far. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Like, you know, there are some checks and balances in the world where, you know, we've seen it, you know, when you talk about the Germans and the Nazis, they were doing some horrific things. And what did the world do? They took notice and they kept them in check. And then, you know, once you take care of that, you really put them down to not have them to be able to do that again. So there are some like checks, and you know, depending on what's going on in China, and there's a lot going on that you could talk about. But you know, I believe and I have hope that even if it got to a point where it was like, okay, there's action that needs to be taken, that we would be able to come together, you know, the good people of the world, and, you know, take care of these malicious intending people.
Because we're woke, son.
Yeah.
We're woke. That's who we are.
I hate that term.
I know. I do too, but like it does play to benefits as far as like keeping the world on like a pretty moral, ethical kind of pace. You know what I mean? Some things are absolutely ridiculous, but that's for later discussion. But you know, so with the whole vaccine thing, right? It may be, there's a chance that the conspiracy is right, or any conspiracy may like be true, and it could be really bad for us. But for the time being, we're seeing pretty positive, dramatic changes because now that we're starting to get population, I don't know, it's not necessarily herd immunity, but we're starting to get widespread vaccinations, and people are starting to be more comfortable.
It's vaccine mixed with herd immunity. That's
And in Texas, we've seen a big impact because now like things are open back up, and like it started out slow where people were like, well, we're not going to require masks, but we're going to leave signs up that say, you know, we require masks, but no one's going to enforce it. Nowadays, like even my gym that I go to, they don't even have a sign on the door, and you're not even required to wear it in. Yeah. Which used to, like just 2 weeks ago, you were required to wear your mask still in, you check in, and then you look around and you're like, everybody's on machines and stuff without a mask on. Like, what are we doing? And then basically they just, I don't know when the shift was, but they just stopped caring. And like today I went in, no mask. I didn't even take a mask in with me. And it's like, wow, I really don't have to worry.
Yeah, I went to eat this weekend didn't wear a mask into it, and the workers weren't. And people listening, if you have your opinion, you have your opinion. But again, I believe that because of the vaccines coming out and the herd immunity and that combined together, I think we're able to stop, where we don't have to wear the mask. That mandate should be lifted.
Yeah.
And it should be up to the person to, dictate whether they want to wear it or not. And what's funny is Texas was the first state to actually say we're not going to require at a state level or a government level that you have to wear it. It's going to be up to the businesses and the individual, and their knowledge of their health and everything else to dictate whether they want to wear it or not.
Yeah.
And
I think
got
Florida
a ton of
was even
backlash
a little
for
bit
it.
earlier. I don't know exactly, but I think Florida.
They were right on the same lines as us.
They were super early with it.
And then you get a bunch of backlash of what Biden had said about the Neanderthal thinking with, Governor Abbott saying, putting that forward and being one of the first, people to give people the choice. But then shortly after, you start seeing states here and there doing the same thing. So it's just like we were, it was going to be whoever state it was, the first one was going to get rolling. Yeah, well, they were going to get, criticized no matter what, no matter what state it was. It just happened to be Texas and Florida, whichever one. But I'm very happy that we're moving forward and the light is there.
We're lucky that this is because it's not like we foresaw this at all. We're lucky that we kind of just have been able to be in this state throughout this whole process because we've kind of gotten the better of the shit,
Mm-hmm.
But I was surprised whenever we went up to North Carolina, even whenever we were in that bike shop, that I had my mask down at one point and they came up to me and they're like, hey, you need to pull it up, which it was completely out of habit. And I totally respect them for having those mandates still in place. But I was surprised because wow, this is a lot of very heavily outdoor people, which here outdoor places you go into them, the owners and stuff don't even.
The smaller towns here in Texas usually don't really care that much.
And
it's usually cities,
and that was a small town.
That was a rural area.
Yeah, so to kind of go into what we did, we just recently had a trip up to South Carolina. Greenville is where our friend Clint lives. So we went out there to visit him with our whole little travel gang. And the guys, we took a day trip up into North Carolina to Pisgah National Forest and did a little bit of mountain biking. So
much fun, man.
Finally got these guys on two wheels and kind of some of my area of enjoyment. And I think we all had a good time.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, man. Being able to do that, for one, just getting outside. I think me and you have said in the podcast before, and then just who we are, that being outside and outdoors is does good for the soul. It makes us feel.
Us, that's how we are. Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, man, getting outdoors is something that's a very healthy thing. You get out in the sun, let the vitamin D hit you. It was just a lot of fun just to be out in nature, but also do something that gives you a little bit of an adrenaline rush. Makes you feel alive. You have it wasn't easy. We put in work that whole day.
Dude, we worked our ass off. We climbed for so much. I actually, because I recorded it right on Strava and I looked up the routes that we did. So, Fort Worth is 650 feet above sea level, and where we were at started at around 2,300, and we climbed up to 3,000. So we climbed roughly 700 feet of elevation. But I think it was closer to 1,000 whenever I was looking total of elevation that we climbed while we were there. But that killed me, dude. I did not realize that this was going to happen, but being up there, I literally every day I was having asthma problems. Yeah. And it's because of the higher elevation.
Think about doing it in Colorado, man.
I don't know what the
much higher.
So I never understood. Okay, one, I haven't traveled a whole lot.
Yeah.
I have recently, but growing up I didn't travel a whole lot, right? And I never went up into the mountains very much.
Yeah.
So I did not realize that Fort Worth being at 650 foot above sea level, that's not much. And even I noticed whenever I went out to San Francisco, which is basically at sea level, right? Yeah. Whenever we hiked down there, I felt like I could breathe so well. And I was like, what is it? Is it just cleaner air there? Which it's not. But I was I couldn't figure out what it was. And then here, that's whenever I really realized, I was wow, elevation makes a big difference. Obviously for me, because I have, I don't know if it's severe asthma, but it's exercise induced asthma. But up there, it's everything. I just felt I never could catch my breath, which is what kind of stirs up my asthma. Not to mention all the allergies, it's spring.
There's different trees over there. You're in a different area, so you're gonna have different types of pollen, and it's gonna fuck with you a little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, in the grand scheme of things, we had a great time. We traveled 12 miles of trails, which a lot of it, to go down, you got to go up first.
So what, it was probably like 75%. Or, somewhere around there, 75% going uphill and working towards the top peak, and then the rest, 25% is downhill.
You have to like wind yourself uphill. You can't just go straight uphill. And then you get to the top, and it's like a quick run down. Like, it's like, I think we ran for like 8 or 10 minutes straight downhill.
Yeah.
With like a break here and there to kind of regroup and stuff. But yeah, essentially we'd spend an hour climbing a mountain just to spend 8 minutes riding it down. But
it was worth it.
It was a blast. We had a great time out there.
It's beautiful out there, man. I don't if no one's ever been to like so we were technically in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So the Appalachian Mountains have a couple different mountain ranges. People mostly think of like Tennessee area. That's the Smoky Mountains. We're kind of in those Blue Ridge Mountains, and dude, it's just beautiful, man. Like so many trees, like just the thick forest is just beautiful to me, and like you still have those like views, like even though it's real thick forest, we're still able to kind of see
what's
some
different
of the
than around
outlooks.
here too, because everything is so much taller.
Yeah.
So like here we have a lot of shrubbery, right? Like we have a lot of low vegetation. There, like all the trees are so tall, the lower levels, like where eye level is very clear, very like open. There's just dirt and like leaves on the ground and like stuff like that, but there's not like what we have here that's full of like vines and shrubs and like
real thick some places,
trees and cactus and shit like that, like real Texas type landscape. But no, up there it's so beautiful. And even Greenville, South Carolina, I was amazed at how beautiful
that's a cool
place.
city, man.
Clint, you got a great place that you live.
You lucked out, man. You could have been put in some podunk, because there's some podunk places in that area of the country. Like there's some very rural spots,
sure.
and
man,
you could have been put in one
he's
of
got
those.
a great place, and he gave us a great tour of his little town that he lives up there, and he's like walking distance to everything. We got to check out a comedy club. We got to go to cool restaurants. Say they got a waterfall right like down in town. That's really,
I think we talked about it on the trip too. Like while we were there, was like we would have never known about Greenville if he wouldn't have moved there, and we wouldn't have been able to go visit him. Like we would have never known that that area existed in that really pretty city and just those trails and stuff. Which is kind of funny that my cousin, about 2 years ago, I believe, somewhere around there, she had her wedding like 30 minutes away from where we mountain biked. So like I'd been there before, but not Greenville. Like I would have never
there, right? Whenever y'all went, wasn't that y'all took a camper?
I flew that. No, my parents like camped along the way. I flew there and then rode with them back. Gotcha. Which was like 1,000 miles. It was like a whole day of driving. So, but no, it was beautiful, man. And like I'm glad I was able to experience, like, to know like, oh, Greenville, like that's a cool place to go if you were ever in that area again. Like like that's a city where you'd want to stay, and it's got an hour away, amazing mountain biking and just scenery like galore. So
I mean, I'd been to Asheville. Colton and I went to Asheville, North Carolina, like a little over a year ago, or maybe even 2 years ago, and that was a beautiful place too. And that was the same kind of thing. I was like, wow, I had no idea what Asheville was. But and then it's like Greenville. There's so many. It really opened our eyes, right, to so many just travel opportunities out there, just spread across the country. Like every state's got multiple different spots that you can just basically go to and see something new, something you're not used to. Especially whenever you travel like that. That's a long way, right, from Texas over to South Carolina, and then driving up into North Carolina. Yeah, and that Pretty Place. Y'all might have heard it or might have seen that. Like we
big on TikTok
luckily
right now.
Found that off TikTok, and we were like, whoa, we got to go to this, and got up at like 5:30 in the morning and drove there. And literally, that
I was questioning on the way up there.
Beautiful.
I was like, oh, this is gonna be worth it, because I was tired. I was worn out. We had just mountain biked a little bit.
No, that mountain biking really. We had a busy weekend just in general. Like we did something all the time. We were very busy up early every morning. But yeah, Pretty Place was definitely worth it too. So if you're ever up in that area, you should go check it out. We did they have certain times that it's open, because I think a lot of people have weddings and stuff there. Yeah, and so we went there, and it's basically just like a chapel. There wasn't a service, but they have like a cross, and it's like up on top of a mountain. The windy road to get up there, like, was crazy. Like making Macy car sick. Yeah. But it was just, it was ridiculous. Well, we were also like, how many people deep in a truck?
Oh, we were squeezing like 6 or 7 people.
Yeah, I think there was 6 of us.
There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7
of us in a 5-seater truck.
All squeezed in.
The girls were both
windy roads up.
Yeah, down on the floorboards in the back seat. And we were, man, it was a packed house for an hour drive too.
And there was a ton of people, man. Like it.
So many.
And that's it. It's cool that people go out and experience these places, but there is like this side effect of social media and Instagram and stuff that some of these spots get very overcrowded.
Oh, definitely.
And it kind of takes away from maybe some of the sereneness of what the place could be if there wasn't so many people, and just your ability to just take in everything. But it wasn't like I was still able to really take everything in, because when I first got up there, like we walk up, right, the sun's about to come up over the mountain, and my immediate reaction was to take my phone out and take a picture. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna sit here and watch the sun rise, and I'll take some pictures here in a little bit. But I want to have this moment of watching the sun just peek up over the mountain.
Right.
And I'm glad I did that, because it's funny that our automatic reaction and what we're used to now is make sure we got to take a picture, because you want to show people like there's good intentions behind it. You want to be able to look back at it. You want to share it.
A lot of pictures.
I took a ton of pictures, but I wanted to take just that one small moment of a couple minutes of just put my phone in my pocket and just look. And then, man, it was beautiful. Like it's amazing. It was a painting, the colors of the sky and just the backdrop. And then there was that little like lake right down below where the sun came up over the peak of the mountain. It was just, man, it was perfect.
You could only see it because the way that the sun reflected off the water like made it evident that there was like a lake real far out there in the distance. And like there's like a ledge too, so we just sat on the ledge and like just sat there for a while taking it in. It was a beautiful place. But yeah, like you were saying, because of social media, so many people know about it. So many people, and it was Easter weekend too.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So a lot of people were showing up there. There was like 3 different engagements while we were there.
Back to back to back.
It was, man.
I don't know about that, man. Like I wouldn't
many.
like that's cool. Like good for them. I'm happy for them, right? But it's like, damn it. I feel like it kind of takes, especially the third person, right? Okay, so the first person, they got the first one, right? They got all the real attention, and then the second one, you're like, all right, like happy for you. The third one, you're like, all right, God, come on, let's wrap this up.
No, like I'm happy for all of them. But it also, to the point about like social media letting you know, like we wouldn't have known about that place if it wasn't for TikTok. So that would have been like a little hidden gem that we missed out on. So you can't be mad about everybody.
Was it the girls
showing up there
that knew about that?
Yeah, I think it was Emily or Macy that found it.
Yeah, that doesn't pop up on my TikTok feed.
No, weird shit shows up on your TikTok feed.
Oh yeah, there's not the serene. Sometimes, yeah, it's not that weird, but
yeah, no, but. Just such a great trip, and like I'm so happy with our year so far because we've done a lot of traveling. We got a lot more traveling to do. We've really been
adventures, man. It's all about adventures.
We've been spending a lot of money on travel lately,
dude.
Too.
I was adding it up a little bit, yeah. But I mean, dude, it's worth it. Like,
especially like at our age, because like we don't have like it's so much more expensive when you have a family, when you have kids that you start doing. It's also like it's harder, it's more difficult, it's more of a hassle. Mm-hmm. Could we take the kids mountain biking? Sure. We could not have done the mountain biking that we did with kids. There's like different things that like take away from it. Like nothing against like kids, but
I know there were some kids that we saw up there. They were getting it.
But what I'm saying is like there's a time where your kids are like between 0 and like 12.
Well, yeah.
Where like they're a lot more of a responsibility, like something you have.
And it just isn't as easy, We're able just to pick up and go.
Yeah, exactly. But we're at a good point in our life right now. Although things are changing for me a little bit since we now have a
child now,
a new member of the family, not a child, but a puppy. And I know we talked about this, right? Like a couple, I don't know how many episodes ago, but we were talking about this during COVID about like it's a good time to get a puppy. Well, Macy and I caved, and we ended up getting the cutest
shit, man.
Dude, the cutest little puppy ever. We named him Duke. And I gotta tell you, if you don't want kids, don't get a puppy, because that thing, they're just so adorable. And then they start making you think, is this what it feels like to be like a father? Like at least for me.
Now, Ben, I'm not gonna paint you as a bad guy, all right? Don't get the wrong impression of Ben, but not the biggest. You were just raised like, and I know people that I've grown up with, like,
I know what you're gonna
that.
Say.
Dogs are more of like, they're utilitarian. They're made to work, and they're outside.
Dogs belong outside, right? Growing up, the only dogs that we had were goat dogs, were outside dogs.
But let me tell you, this guy is weak. He puts up a front, because I've never seen him act any way towards a dog like he acts with Duke, man. He is all over it,
man. He's the cutest thing.
Yeah,
we got to post some pictures. Let the listener see. He's absolutely adorable. He's a medium-sized golden doodle, and he couldn't be more perfect.
Those are good dogs,
and it's got me thinking though. It's like, is this what it's like to be a father? Right? Is this what it's like to have kids? Because like I don't love dogs necessarily, other people's dogs. And I don't really like other people's kids. Like I'm not a big baby person. I'm not a kid. I'm not a, even like my brother's, he's got 2 kids now. I'm like, I love them to death. My niece is super cute. My nephew's really cute, but it's like, especially when they're really small babies, I'm like, like, what do I do with them? Like here, I'm gonna go ahead and hand this back. Like, and like their heads
like bobbing and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
but like
unstable.
I see my brother Trey, and he's like he's such a great parent. Like I really look up to him for that. But I see him and he like loves them, and I'm like, yeah, like I totally understand. Like you have a connection with your kid and stuff. But I never thought the same way with dogs. I never thought that like I would just be like. So like I just look at him and I'm like, oh my God, you're so cute. You're just a cute little puppy. And like, I feel like that's how it's
a touch into it.
Kids.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like it pushes you towards want to have like having your own kids now and like get that same kind of feeling out of like it's yours. Like,
and you're responsible.
You gotta love it, but just in general, I think that you're like more like attached to it because it is yours and it means more. But
well, man, I'm excited to be an uncle. For the little puppy.
Be a good uncle for Duke. We may need you to watch him from time to time. He's kind of a little shit at times, but it's like he's just too cute to.
Dude, you can't. And that's the thing about those dogs, man. Like, 'cause I've kind of helped raise 2 of them, really 1, but almost 2. And so I've been around those dogs a lot, and they're amazing dogs, man. They're the perfect because poodles are pretty goofy. Yeah. They're not known for being like crazy smart, but the golden retrievers are like they're known for being very, very smart and intelligent. So you get that kind of perfect mix of goofy and smart because they do learn really well, but they're also very playful and just kind of funny.
The doodle kind of personality, right?
Yeah, there's like a specific type of personality those dogs have that are just they're amazing pets and amazing companions.
Well, Moose was the first golden doodle I'd ever like met, like ever been around.
Yeah, well, same for me. Yeah,
he was like one of, and that was that's your brother's dog, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like one of the reasons why I was like, oh man, I kind of want a golden doodle. Like this dog is awesome. Like and
they don't shed, which that's
a big thing for me because like I have bad dog. I actually am allergic to dogs. Luckily, Cash really doesn't give me problems, but yeah, they don't shed. And I have like this. I'm not a clean freak. I just hate having hardwood floors and seeing dog hair on the floor. Like
you
it
have
makes me
a little bit of OCD with that kind of stuff. I'd have the same thing. Constantly. Yeah, so I don't blame you.
So yeah, they don't shed, and I just I don't have to keep telling you how cute he is. You'll see it for yourself. We'll post a picture with him, but he's adorable, man.
Man, I've been wanting if I had like because a doodle mix of whatever dog is very popular now because of the good parts about what a doodle brings to another breed. And a Bernie Doodle is what I would really want, man. It's a Bernese Mountain Dog and a Doodle mix. And they are the coolest looking dogs, but they're so expensive, man. They're more expensive than most of the other breeds mix for whatever reason. I don't know if Bernese Mountain Dogs are expensive themselves, but
I've never even heard of a Bernese Mountain Dog.
Yeah, like it was one of the dogs that was actually in the place where we rented the mountain bikes. One of those dogs, not the Husky, but the other one. Oh, yeah? That was a smaller version of a Bernese Mountain Dog.
Okay, I think I vaguely remember.
Yeah, they're darker, and then they've got like the brown, accents around their face and stuff. And but they're just really cool mixed with that doodle hair, and that's like what I would want. But you'd have to shell out like $7,000 for one of those dogs.
Yeah, that's a lot.
From what I was able to find, maybe there's some cheaper ones out there. Y'all let me know. But yeah, dude, I think they're great. That's a great mix of dog with a doodle mixed with whatever you want to choose, sheepadoodle, whatever. There's tons of them out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of doodle mixes. That's a big thing. It's crazy what we do with dogs, right? How we like kind of interbreed their different
like what they've come from because
that too, that they used to be freaking wolves.
Yeah,
my dad had a dog whenever he was growing up that he always told me they had a dog, right, that was 7/8 timber wolf, so it was like 1/8 dog, and the thing was apparently like indistinguishable from a legit wolf.
Yeah,
and they actually had to get rid of it because my uncle it did something wrong or whatever, and my uncle like kind of hit it with a bottle, was like, hey, like knock it off, like quit or whatever, and then it bit at his throat, like it tried to bite his throat, and he like moved to the side and it bit his ear, and it ripped his ear off.
Oh my God.
He had to go have it sewn back on, and that was whenever they had to get rid of the dog because they were like, this dog just like went at your throat, like it legitimate, and it wasn't even a dog. It's not, you can't even call it a dog. It was a wolf, right? That just tried to get him. Basically,
Biden's dog is having an issue. I guess this dog's Major is the name.
Mr. President Biden.
Yeah, he's got a dog Major or whatever that hangs out the White House, and twice, at first it bit somebody, And so they sent it off for training. It came back and bit another person.
Oh, wow.
So, like, it's just funny, like, the president's dog is fucking people up at the White House. But yeah, it's weird that you get from a wolf to that little bitty dog that ran into Clint's apartment, like whatever that is.
Yeah,
it's not even a dog.
That thing is like
a Shih Tzu, or I don't even know. It's some little frou little dog. It's tiny and just
Ben. Its name was Ben.
Its name was Ben, dude. It's just crazy. Like somehow, somewhere down the line, that's what we got. That's what we bred that into.
Like a wolf that's like a legitimate killing machine.
Yeah.
Like if you see wolves like chase down deer and elk, it's insane. Like it's crazy, primal, just what they are and how smart they are, but also just how much they are natural predators.
Yeah.
And then we have little chihuahuas and little just yelpy little annoying dude. I don't like small. I'm not a small dog person. Like some of them are cute, but man, some of them I'm just like,
I don't like chihuahuas because I'm like, dude, are you gonna have a heart attack at any moment? Like you're kind of freaking me out. Like this weird vibes come from you.
Yeah, I think they're ugly too. I'm not gonna shit on little dogs too much.
Yeah, you're gonna piss off our listeners, man.
But I've never been a dog person really until Duke. He's kind of changing my mind on that. But.
Oh man, I'm a little jealous because like, yeah, I probably should have, because I am a dog person. I've always grown up with dogs. I've never had one technically like my own. Growing up with one that your parents get you, that's a little different. But one that I have raised myself and myself alone. And yeah, I should have gotten one at the beginning of the pandemic because that was the perfect time to get one. You're at home. There's nothing else to do. You have total dedication to potty training it and doing all the things you need to do for a puppy. And I just noticed that at my apartment. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but just being able to see everybody that got puppies, because a lot of people did.
Oh yeah, it was a big.
And like basically watching them grow. Like I would be sitting out like on my balcony. And like I used to face inward, so I got to see everybody that go to the dog park and stuff. I was able to kind of just watch it all happen, and got to see these dogs like basically grow up from little puppies, where they'd walk them out to the little place to go potty, and then now they're full size dogs. So I feel like I know them, but I don't know them.
Right. Some
of them I actually do know. Some of them like I've befriended their owners and gotten to kind of like, oh, like I remember like seeing him when he was a puppy, and they're like, oh yeah, he's a lot bigger now, huh?
You know how like when you run into your parents, like old friends, like as a kid growing up, and they would always hit you with that, oh boy, the last time I saw you were just a wee little thing.
You were knee high to a grasshopper, like
yeah, like I remember you when you were little, and you're just like, okay, shut up, like I don't care, I don't know you, dude.
Why'd you get so big? Like.
Yeah, that's how you feel. You're the old man on the block that's like, oh man, I remember that one. That one was a little puppy.
Well, man, I'm ready for Duke to help me kind of pick up some of the ladies.
Oh yeah,
that's a lady getter right there.
Oh, dude, for sure. We'll loan him to you for the weekend. Take him out and let him chill by the pool and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And man, he's super friendly, so he loves like meeting people and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Dude, speaking of the pool, man, like. It's sunny, it's summer here. Like, we went through that weird week of freeze, and then right after that, man, the weather just got perfect. Like,
oh yeah, it is.
So springtime hit, and it just gives me like being out in the sun and just being out by the pool and just springtime and everything green gives me like a different kind of energy, like than like in the winter.
Man, it's just that. Think about like our ancestors, like our deep down, like our DNA, our genetics, right? We were creatures that were like in nature. We were outside. We were not made to have houses and
be
coop
inside.
ourselves up like this. So it's like when you go outside, and like that's kind of how we felt whenever we were up in like North Carolina, and all the time when we travel, it's like you go outside and you get sun and you just breathe in the air, and you're like, man, like it feels good. It makes you feel better. I feel like it brightens up your mood.
Mm-hmm.
It helps so much. And now it's like springtime, and it's not too hot, because it's going to get too hot here soon. We're used to it, right? We're from Texas.
Yeah.
But it's going to get hot. We're going to hit triple digits like throughout the summer, and that shit is hot.
It's a little brutal, man.
It gets miserable. Like I'm trying to get more riding in right now, just biking, because I know that whenever I go in the heat of the summer, which I did last year too, so like I got to experience it, like, dude, you sweat.
That's
like,
kind of when you're going to want to go, like either in the morning or like before sun.
Which I used to a lot during COVID. And I actually noticed, because I track like all of my workouts, all of my biking, everything on my Apple Watch. And I noticed the significant difference in how many calories it says I was burning. I don't know how accurate they are, but in how many calories it says I was burning whenever it was like really, really hot, I was burning a lot of calories. And then as it got cooler and cooler, I noticed that like I would do the same amount of biking for the same amount of time, and it was like I was only burning like 600 or 700 calories.
Your body's not working harder than it to cool it down, basically.
It must not be, and like obviously it probably has to go off like your heart rate and things like that. And also, I'm sure that I got adjusted, right? So I kind of built up more of a tolerance. My body got more like acclimated to going and riding and things like that. So naturally, I probably started to burn less calories. But yeah, that was something that was interesting to me. And it's going to get like that quick. But for now, it's perfect.
Perfect, man.
You need to get out to the pool more.
What's kind of cool about what I learned, because I always knew like vitamin D, came from the sun, and it was something that was a really important vitamin, I guess. But what COVID kind of brought to light to myself and hopefully a lot of other people, that vitamin D is a very crucial, and it's, I'm not super versed in that world of, vitamins and hormones and stuff, but I don't know if vitamin D is technically a hormone, or it reacts in a way with your body that your body produces hormones because of the vitamin D. But it's a huge regulatory vitamin that your body gets naturally from the sun that it needs, that really does help with like endorphins and proven for health and sickness and just kind of all over the board. It's something that's really crucial. And so I started paying attention to that a little bit, and just knowing like you really do need vitamin D. And now that like we're a society where we're indoors way more than we ever have been, and some people almost the whole time they're indoors, which is wild to me. Why you wouldn't want to just enjoy outdoors or just not realize that like, I need to be outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, yeah, like the summertime, just being able to be out in the sun, like I do now that I kind of pay attention to it, because during the winter, you tend to be inside more, and we've had a few spells of it being really cold, and you just I get stir crazy. And even if I'm like in my my office and stuff, I'll get kind of antsy towards the very end of the day because I haven't gone outside or whatever. But once I get outside and get in that sun, it just is almost an immediate change in just my overall like well-being. You know what I mean?
It's like almost like there's like endorphins from it that just make you feel better and stuff. Not that I needed another excuse to spend more time outside, but yeah, whenever that became like a topic, and Rogan talked about it in his podcast, I'm sure that's where you and I both heard about it, and I was like, oh wow, I never had any idea about that. Rhonda Patrick really was one who like brought it to light.
That's where I've heard like that episode.
It big time on that episode. Yeah, and like I like to listen to Rhonda Patrick from time to time anyway, and so I was like, whoa, like this is serious. I mean, I started supplementing with vitamin D as well, vitamin D3, just to try to help through like all the COVID things, but just in general, like spending a lot of time outside. It's different too it's interesting because we really associate with spending a lot of time in the sun with like fear of skin cancer, right? Like we probably have like all have grandparents or know like older people that grew up labor jobs working in the sun and got skin cancer.
That's me.
Like both of my grandparents got skin cancer from it, and have had to have different parts of their bodies like or their skin removed and
chip it off or
cut.
something.
Yeah, they would do like skin grafts and move it around and stuff like that, just because that's what they did. They grew up like outside, and whenever I was working construction, my parents were always like, "You're getting too much sun. Like we don't want you to get real leathery skin and get skin cancer from it one day."
I mean, that's true, but there's like balance.
You gotta, exactly. There's kind of that happy medium you gotta find. But in general, I don't think that I don't think humans, we aren't really designed to be cooped up indoors all the time. So whenever you work a job that's inside and then you get to go outside, it's like that nice, refreshing feeling. It may be different whenever you're working like a labor job outside. You may enjoy going and sit in the AC. So obviously there's a little bit of a difference there. But
and also like to that, like kind of the same thing. And what I experienced whenever we went mountain biking, like after we were done, we checked in our bikes and we were headed home. Like there was like a smile on my face that kept like rising. I could feel like I was like honestly high. Like I was very happy. Like my endorphins were just shooting through the roof.
Dude, it's a big stress relief for me. Whenever I go mountain biking around here all the time. Like I love it as like kind of a sport, but like not in like a serious professional way, but it's just like, well, it's good cardio for me, but like I just love being outside. Every time whenever I get out there and I'm like really like halfway through my ride and I'm like, I don't want this to end. Like this is great. This is what I needed. I need this kind of like getaway. Dude, I just thought about though, whenever So we went biking right the first trail, and we did so much climbing, and then we all got in the truck and we drove to the second trail, and you called it probably because like
I was like, I just knew because like running and stuff. Whenever you are like, especially with your legs, when you're using them a bunch, and then you sit down, you're supposed to like work it out. Like that's always what we were. It's like anytime we ever did like a hardcore track workout or like ran at a meet, you always have to cool down always because you'll get muscle. Yes, I should have brought that, but you'll get leg lock. And I knew that was coming for somebody, and it hit you like a brick wall.
So bad. I've never experienced anything like that before in my life.
Well, I've never seen a thigh like literally knot up like that.
It was like a softball size knot. I got out of the truck and I just stood up, and my leg just locked out, and my thigh just
you had this like indention.
Yeah, and it had an indention from where the muscle pulled and just balled up into a big knot. Yeah. And I was almost in tears. I was so
That's painful, man.
I was telling them, I was like, guys, I cannot do this trail. Like I can't. I'm in such excruciating pain, like from a cramp so bad. And honestly, I drank that liquid IV, and it was like that. Like
helped a lot,
dude. It's so much. Like I was amazed by it. Like obviously it doesn't just like go away, but it did quick. I mean, I also stretched it out real good, and like
then we started walking, and that helps. We
started walking stuff, but like Trevor was having bad cramps too. But man, I think that liquid IV, that shit
that works. Worth it.
Oh, 100%. Like it.
Hopefully they become one of our sponsors.
Yeah. Hit us up, Liquid IV. I really do like Liquid IV whenever I'm mountain biking. I like it as like a hangover cure for like a lot of different things, just to make you feel refreshed and get your vitamins back up and get you feeling good about yourself.
Afterwards, it felt amazing.
Dude, we put in so much work.
And that's what I know about me, man. I know you too. It's putting in the work. Like some people, that's not relaxing. Like, it's not what they want to. They don't want to consider that a vacation.
Right.
But I think to us, and just the kind of the way that we're built and wired, is a gratifying feeling of like, oh, we put in work, but we also enjoyed it. Like to be pushed and to know like, oh, like it's that tired feeling, you know, that afterwards tired feeling of like, man, like we did work today. Yeah. But it was also a hell of a time.
Well, also we got rewarded. All of our work was getting to the top, and then you got rewarded with a beautiful, super fun ride down. That was like, it was also such an adrenaline rush because it was legitimately scary. Like I looked on the Strava app, and we were going like 30 miles an hour at one point, going downhill over a ton of rock. And like, I have experience mountain biking. Y'all don't, but like, I don't even have experience doing that, going that kind of downhill, because we don't have those kind of trails around here. And it was just intense. It was just one of those things where like, you have no choice but to just sit back, grip it, like grit your teeth and hold on, and just like all the way down, just shredding.
Because the last time I did that was in Colorado when I was probably like 15, 16.
It's riding a bike, so it's pretty natural. Like we've all ridden a bike, so like you understand like the basics of it, but like there's definitely technique to it. And Clint unfortunately found out the hard way. He ended up going over the handlebars at one point.
We did pretty well, even with his wreck. It wasn't even bad.
Yeah, nobody got hurt. That's a big thing for me. This is the first mountain biking trip that I've taken someone new mountain biking, and they haven't. Well, I guess Clint did crash. I was going to say, then we didn't have a bad crash because you crashed. Yeah. Colt crashed. Colt got the worst of it because he
broke something.
Snapped his collarbone bad. And his
major break.
And his ribs or whatever. He was,
No, we came out with it
pretty clean. Clint did take a little spill. So I'm still 3 for 3 on taking new people.
I wish I would have seen it, man. As bad as that is,
I wish we would have got it on video. Because we got some cool videos though. I'm going to try to put something together, but I got a freaking... Well, that adorable little puppy may have eaten my SD card. I don't know.
He's got the memories in his stomach, man.
But oh man, it's such a good trip. A lot of good memories to reminisce on, and a lot of things to take away from that trip too.
I would encourage y'all to get out there and explore, have adventures, man. Do you want to go into our current events? And
let's get into
crypto?
Instead of the book this week, let's bring back some current events. A lot been going on. You want to start off?
Yeah, we can talk about a little bit about crypto. That's kind of
been a big thing today.
Yeah. Today it shot up. And
Tuesday the 13th.
Yep.
When we're recording this.
And it kind of all across the board, all the different cryptos have really shot up in the last 24 hours. I think, and it could be for whatever reason. Crypto is a very unpredictable currency and something to invest in. Again, let's just preface this by saying this is no financial advice whatsoever, so we can't get sued.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's not financial. You don't want to listen to me. I've taken shit on every time I get into.
But Coinbase is one of the major apps and programs used for Bitcoin trading. So you have things like Robinhood, Expedia, or not Expedia, but it starts with an E, X something. Anyway, there's a bunch of different apps that you can trade stocks with, but Coinbase is something that's just primarily used, if not just at all, is just used for crypto. Well, they went public today, and so I think that had something to do with everything shooting up kind of all across the board.
Yeah.
But Dogecoin is something that I'm invested in, and it's a silly investment. It's all hype train.
Yeah, we've talked about it before.
Yeah,
and we knew like kind of where it was at, and we're like, whatever, it
could take at any moment.
It's a gamble.
Yeah, but it's fun.
It's fun to ride.
And there's a Reddit community out there that's it's honestly pretty entertaining. So like usually whenever it spikes like it does today, I'll go on the Reddit page and just kind of see the comments, and it's funny. Some of the memes, because it's kind of known as a meme coin. It's like, again, a hype train. It's just the community, they love it for whatever reason, but there's really no solid base to it as to like why it's worth what it's worth. Even the guy that started it stopped developing it in 2015, I think, and he even thinks he had a statement saying it's overpriced. There's no reason why it should be worth it the way it is.
Yeah.
But that's what society can do.
Doesn't matter because it's legit. Like it's
but what is value, right?
People are making thousands of millions of dollars on it, right?
Yeah.
Or they own millions of dollars worth that they could essentially cash in and have that money. So it's real, whatever.
So if you have a little bit of money to, basically gamble with, or just, have some hopes of maybe turning it into a little bit. I mean, crypto it's not fake. It's real to a certain extent. It never made sense to me with all the different cryptos out there and what exactly it is with the blockchains and stuff. It's over my head. I can comprehend it to a certain extent, but then it gets to a point where I'm just like, I check out. And but I came across this. I had a friend tell me about this new cryptocurrency, and the way and why it's valuable makes a lot of sense to me. And what's funny is, or not funny, it's kind of cool and it's promising, is that it's being backed by some major companies like Google, Intel, and then a couple other ones, very major businesses that are backing this and joining the members of the board members for this crypto.
Yeah.
And what it does, or what it can be used for, it's for transactions. So it's monetary transactions between companies, the ability to track certain data associated with, I think where they used one of the examples of, which this is kind of sketchy a little bit if you want to get real deep down into it, but this was one of the case studies of why this is going to be, maybe valuable in the future. It's able to track safely maybe your shot records. So if you need to send your shot records to a company or entity of some sort, or just however you're going to send it out, it's a way that you can even send information, not just currency. But there is a fee connected to it, so I think that's where like the money comes into it, even when it's not just trading, the coin itself as like a monetary value. And so it just made sense of like how it can be used, because I didn't know. I thought it was just like money, I thought that's all what it was, but it is more than just that in a certain, in a certain way. It can be used in a different way than just money-to-money transaction.
Wasn't the reason Bitcoin like kind of was created was for like black market stuff, and it was like untraceable currency?
It was being used for that for like a long time. I don't think it was necessarily made for that. I mean, who knows really? I don't know who made it, but it was definitely being used for it. But now I kind of read an article the other day about it where it's so popular now that the black market doesn't really use it anymore. Like
Gotcha.
it's actually being used legitimately now for the most part. But yeah, it's HBAR is what the crypto that I'm talking about, and it's, let me see, Hedera Hashgraph is like the full name, but HBAR is what you'll see like on all the stock websites and stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll take a look into it, man, but I don't know shit about crypto. I have not lost money through it. I mean, I've lost a little bit here, but I've regained it with my strategic Bitcoin investment.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've had such bad experience, and probably because I don't keep up with like the social side of things. I just kind of like wing it. But essentially for a long time, you and I bought in like really early just to kind of play around. We've already talked about that on like an earlier episode. And I ended up selling out to take like a small loss to cut my losses because like we ended up buying in a little too late and things were real unstable. And I was like, okay, I really don't know anything about this. I'm just gonna go ahead and get out like while I can. I lost like $20 or something like that. And then I bought back in at a later date because I was like, oh, like it's starting to rise again. I'm going to go ahead and get back in. And I got back in at like 7 cents whenever it was about that. And that put in like, I don't know, $200, something small. And then it goes on for months and months and it's like down below. It's like 5-6 cents. And I'm like waiting. I'm like, Jesus, like it's never going to come back up. Yeah. Well, just this past weekend, it gets up to like 6.6 or 6.7 cents. And I was like, okay, you know what?
You're that break-even point,
but also I was like, well, I've been watching it right for the past like month and a half, and it just goes up and down. It kind of fluctuates throughout the day, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just kind of sell out low or sell out high, buy back in whenever it drops back down tomorrow, and then sell out. You know, just kind of like play the peaks and valleys of the whole deal. And I'd been watching it, so I was like, okay, this is pretty doable. And it's at a new high right now. It's almost back up to 7 cents. So I'm just gonna go ahead and sell out now. And literally, like I sent you the screenshot of like where I sold out at. I sold out on the way up, and it just kept
going up,
going up,
like straight line up.
Yeah, just straight line up, and now it's at like freaking 12 cents right now.
Yeah.
And I sold out and like lost money, and I would have made like, I don't know, more than $100 on the whole ordeal. And I'm just like, just kicking myself in the foot for it. And this is the second time that's happened to me, because that's literally what happened the first time. And I waited so long because I bought back in. Now I want to buy back in because I have such a fear of missing out. Like I have that with everything, but especially whenever I see people, especially people I know that are making money off of it, like you and Marcos and like Trevor.
Like FOMO is real.
People are making money and people are in it. And I'm like, why am I not making, I need to make money.
It could easily go the other way, right? Like we all could not be making any money. Like, so like no one knows at all.
But like it's different too, because like you have kind of like the gang mentality, right? So if like we were all losing money, at least we're all losing money together.
Yeah.
And if we're all making money, it's fun when we're all making money. It's not fun when everyone's texting me like, yo, bro, look at Dogecoin, like it's going up. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I sold out this past weekend and never bought back in. And now like I've missed my chance. I feel like if I buy back in now, it's just going to go back down.
I mean, this Dogecoin itself, again, this is not the most legit coin out there, if at all, but it was worth fractions of a cent a couple months. Yeah, in January, at the beginning of this year, and now it's up to 10 plus cents.
Because like February is whenever it really started taking off.
Yeah, so if you think about it with maybe some of these other ones, like the one that I mentioned, that H-bar, if you have some money to put out there and you do a little bit of research, or you feel comfortable with whatever you're going to invest in, it could end up paying off, like even just a little bit, which, it's any money that you gain is money, but just know that like you have to realize that you could lose it all. So, do it safely, and do, play with what you could lose, just like gambling. Just if you're going to go to a casino, don't take your rent money and hopefully you can, maybe pay your whole year's worth of rent. Just, that's stupid.
Yeah, you gotta be smarter than that.
So that was my kind of current event, kind of for both of us, really. Just kind of interesting. And yeah, I don't bet. Betting's a really big thing now. I think it's because it's become more like legal, just kind of all across the board. Like I think like back in the day, you could really only gamble in certain states.
Well, I think it's also an age that we're getting to where we're around people that are like betting and gambling.
You can do it off your phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So like you have a bookie.
This is different than like betting essentially, but yeah, it is a big deal, like betting parlays and betting on games and stuff like that.
So I don't really do that. I'm not super interested in betting like on a sport game or something. So this is my version of like, okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of money in and see what happens.
And it's doing well for you right now.
Doing well right now.
Just let you manage my account and just like, but Blake's told me from the beginning, like I'll bring it up to him like, oh, like because I've been watching it like every day. I check it and I've been bringing up like, oh, Dogecoin's been doing good. He's like, yeah, I forget about that. Like I don't.
Well, at first I
forget about it, but it's like you put it there and like with long-term intentions.
To me, that money does not exist in my bank account. Like,
which is how I am when I go to a casino. Right? If I take $200 to go gamble at a casino, my intentions are, Ben, you cannot expect to walk out with this money, not any of it, or you shouldn't even take it in, because I know that like it's just too many times that I've just walked out with nothing. And so like you can't go, well, like, I really need this to buy groceries this week, but surely I can double it up, which is like an easy thought to have. It's like, oh, well, like I could have twice as much.
Those what ifs can be strong sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, they'll kill you, especially if you like know people that are good at like winning. Like I've known people that win like thousands of dollars playing slot machines, and I'm like, what? Like,
Right
I've
place,
never
right time.
understood that.
You
But
know.
yeah, whatever.
So yeah,
More power to them. But
I don't know, man. What you got? What's going on in the world?
So my current event is pretty widespread, but I want to talk about it a little bit just because like I've been pondering and I don't even know exactly how to comprehend it. But it's the whole thing going on with Deshaun Watson, right? So he's now up to 22 separate cases against him.
Man,
different cases, 22 different women. And it's just, it blows my mind because we've seen this happen before where like a woman would come out with, sexual assault or, they call them allegations to begin with, right? Innocent until proven guilty. And sometimes they've come out to be false. They've come out to ruin people's careers whenever they weren't true. And they've come out to be really, really true and to shine a light on how terrible some of these people are in situations that these women get put in. But I think with this one, it's pretty evident that you have to recognize it as there's some truth here. There's got to be some truth. You don't get 22 people coming out for nothing. Yeah. And so
like they didn't have some meeting together. No. Very unlikely. Like let's all gang up on him and try to take advantage.
It was one massage therapist first that came out and she just kind of talked about her story. He reached out to her like through Instagram.
Wanted her to touch his butthole.
What's that?
Wanted her to touch his butthole.
Is that what it was?
Yep. Wanted him to massage his butthole.
Yeah, that's one, that's just like kind of far out there, but two, just the way that it went about in the sense that he knew that she kind of had a reputation to uphold and that he basically could blackmail her to ruin her career. So he had power over her essentially. And it's different whenever it's a guy and a girl because essentially that he can overpower her, he could take advantage of her at any time. Like it would not be a legitimate fight that she would be able to put up that would in any way, she would come out on top. It just wouldn't happen.
In most situation for guys, it's kind of the thing you always have to keep in mind where you have to know that can be used against you.
Yep. And he was, the big character, the big face, the name brand essentially. Like
they were re-signing him, right? He wasn't leaving the Houston.
Well, there was already some tension just between Houston Texans and everything going on. JJ Watt had brought some light to just things within the organization that he didn't like.
He
and
obviously wasn't happy with
Deshaun Watson was looking to leave. He was trying to get out of there regardless. But I don't expect him to be playing a lot. Now, I don't know how this is all going to work out with the NFL. But what I really want to talk about is just the obvious fact that this was going on for a very long time with no one talking about it. And like I'll say personally, I typically would have the mindset of like, well, she should have said something. Like, these people should have spoke up sooner. They should have spoke up immediately, spoke out whenever it happened. But I'm not in their situation, and I really probably can never put myself in their situation to understand where they're coming from and why they didn't speak out. And it scares me that goes on a lot more in this world than we probably recognize because this was 22 different cases that have spoken up so far. And even if it wasn't 22, even if it was only 2 cases, even if it was only 1 case, the fact that like we're still not in a world where people that get put in these kind of shitty situations don't really have a way to speak up in like a safe environment that's not gonna ruin their career. This girl, man, I forget her name. I want to say it was like Ashley something. She essentially is like the poster child for all of this, and her life will never go back to the way it was before. No. And her life was changed whenever this dramatic, incident happened. Mm-hmm. But just she had to put herself on that stage, and I guess I can understand a little bit of how difficult that would be. And so it's obviously easier to look at it and say, oh, well, you should have said something, or you should have, done this or that different. But you really don't know the situation they're in. And
it's pretty amazing that when traumatic events happen in people's lives, that your brain does can shut that off. I mean,
everybody
they can black it out.
Dealing with it too. Sometimes you block it out. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you like physically and mentally just can't handle the emotional stress and pressure of talking about it. Yeah. You may not ever want to talk to somebody about it. And I'm sure that for a long time she was basically like, no, I think she got offered different like settlements. So there's a lot to think about, like, okay, well, how's this going to impact my career? Should I just take some money and stay quiet about it, which is probably a pretty easy thing to do, especially with someone who's got so much money to offer you. And
well, that's the thing.
Life-changing money.
That person is a very well-known person. So basically going up against whoever that person is, in this case, it's him, you got to feel kind of underpowered a little bit.
Oh, 100%. And if you fight that battle and you lose, your career's over.
Yeah.
You work for high dollar athletes, and if you fight this battle and you do not win, well, if you fight this battle in general, you're not going to have.
No one's going to go to you.
No, you're not going to have high value clients anymore. Yeah. You're just not.
You just don't want to be. No one wants to be associated with that.
If you do whatever he asks and get it over with and not say anything about it, well then maybe that's going to benefit your career.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that those kind of things were going through each one of these girls' heads whenever they were being put in the situation. And obviously it's a hard situation. I don't know. It bothered me more than I would have expected, because like we've heard these things before, and I'm like, man, yeah, that's terrible. Shitty person. It's shitty that happened to people. But then just 22 and someone that's such a big name, and just knowing that this was going on for so long, and if you really look into it and think about, well, how often is this happening on a daily basis to hundreds of people throughout the world? And
that's the price you pay whenever you're that famous. Whenever you're that famous, that's the price. That's one of the heavy burdens that you have to bear, is that, if this was a normal person that did that to maybe that girl, maybe she just worked at a regular massage place or something, could have gotten away with it. No one would have ever known about it. And even if they did, it wouldn't have been, America-wide news. That's the thing. You're held at a different standard whenever you're, a pro athlete or an actor or just in the limelight.
But kind of the other way too. You also have more privilege to get away with these kind of things too.
Mm-hmm. But if it comes back at you in the wrong way, it'll really suck for you, because everybody's going to know.
As it should, though.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You reap what you sow in that situation. But yeah, it's just a terrible thing. Probably should be talked about a little bit more. I'm not seeing them. Like, there's obviously news articles like putting it out, but it's really not something that's like been super big on social media and stuff. And I'm sure like leading up to trials and things coming out, it'll probably
pop back up again.
Yeah, it'll be.
It's
pretty
just the way our news cycle works. Or it's our turnover for news is so fast that,
and we just have so much shit going on, right?
Yeah.
And you got to pick what's going to get the most clicks and the most views. If you're,
and the articles still might be coming out, but because Google has moved on, their algorithm or whatever has moved on to something else, that it might not be the first thing that pops up if you go to news.
Well, I did see it on the news the other day too, like literally on the television news, but not many people even hardly watch the news these days. It's like, if we're not seeing it popping up in social media, it's really not in the spotlight. And depends on who you follow and what you keep up with. Obviously people that are into sports and stuff probably have more of a highlight on it. But
it's not good. Like, however it turns out and however you look at it, it's not good.
No, it's not. Just be aware that those kind of things are going on in this shitty world that we live in. It makes you worry about your future kids that you're going to have, having a daughter in the future, them growing up in a shitty world and no telling what they could get themselves into and the position they may be put into. It's kind of things that it's a dark thing to think about.
No, absolutely.
It's real though. It's the world we live in. We got to.
And if it doesn't disgust you, then
stop it.
I mean, who are you if that doesn't?
Shitty person.
Yeah.
So.
Well, man, I'll end it on like kind of a lighter note.
Yeah, bring it back that for us.
I like that you shared that though. That's really good. So I don't know if I actually talked to this about you or talked to you about this.
Talk to you about
this. I forget to talk sometimes, but I talked to you about it. And you didn't seem to, I guess, know, or you kind of knew about it, which was surprising. I thought this was kind of like a worldwide thing, but my nerdy ass, it's kind of cool. So a ship got caught in the Suez Canal.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I didn't. I see it all the time now.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed that whenever you brought it up. I was like, what?
For anybody that doesn't know, okay, the Suez Canal is, and I'm not even sure that's how you say it, but the Suez Canal is basically located on the easternmost side of Africa. So right there kind of by Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and basically connects the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. So it's a big point of, trade. It's one of the most heavily trafficked points of the world when it comes to shipping stuff. I think it's like 30% of the world's economy goes through that Suez Canal, which is substantial. And so basically what happened was this ship, the size, it's about the length of the Empire State Building. It's taller, or it's lengthier than the Eiffel Tower is tall. So this thing is massive. It's huge. And
it's a cargo ship.
So it has however many tons of just goods and whatever it's got on it. Massive. It's going through the Suez Canal, basically going up from the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. I think it was going to Europe or something. And basically gets stuck. There was a storm that came through, a bunch of wind, and, the people driving the ship didn't do what they were supposed to, or whatever happened, malfunctioning, and it kind of turned sideways, ran up onto shore, and was basically stuck sideways, blocking the whole canal. And so no ships could go in and out at all. They had to shut it completely down. It took a whole week for it for them to dig it out. Because you think about this massive ship and stuff, when it gets stuck up on shore, it's not going to be easy to, with that much mass getting pushed up into the earth.
I did see videos of it pushed up on shore, and it really put it in perspective. Like, oh shit, like that's a big problem. Like you don't just bring out a normal tugboat and just pull it right out. Like that's not how that works.
No. And so basically what they did was they spent a whole week getting excavators out and digging it out, and they had tugboats kind of pull it. But even that didn't work alone, so they just had to keep doing it until they basically brought it free. And so it took about a week. So that's a week of no container ships able to go through that at all.
That's a huge deal.
30% of the world's economy, shipping-wise, is supposed to go through that, and it's not for a whole week. So the estimating of what the cost of what it stalled everything, is just insurmountable. Like they're not able to fully, it's going to take a while for them to fully
understand the impact.
And calculate what all that affected. And it's just wild that one event can have that big of an impact on just the world economy.
I'm surprised that's even capable of happening, because obviously anything could happen, but also we're in a day and age where planes don't really take off themselves. Like there's kind of autopilot for everything. Like they take off, they land, they fly. Like
a lot of computer systems.
Yeah, there's a lot of fail safes, right? And whenever you have a ship that big, you would think that there would be a lot of precautions, alarms going off, things to get it back on course and course correct itself before that ended up happening.
And that's what they're investigating there, because it's kind of it's very complicated. The industry of shipping, it kind of brought to light, man, it's really complicated, because the people that are shipping stuff on the ship and driving the ship don't technically own the ship. They're borrowing it from a shipbroker and stuff. So and so it was a Chinese owned ship, and so now it was I think Indian operators. And so they're investigating, why did that happen? Why did you take our ship and ran it into, because it was a bunch of wind came through, but I'm sure that's pretty regular there. It's a desert.
Well, yeah, thinking back to our backgrounds, that's definitely going to be a big case study, engineering example of how something went wrong and how to fix it. So I think progressing to the future, we'll understand and be able to prevent that maybe going forward. But that's pretty crazy.
And I always think about it this way of I've had this thought before, whenever you see a wreck on a highway and you see one person that caused this major backup on a highway.
Oh yeah.
So many different trucks and just people going to their jobs or wherever they're going. I wonder what the monetary value of that is. What it costs for all those people to be backed up, the time lost, the things that were being trucked somewhere, the time that they lost. It's something that I always think of every time I see a wreck. I'm like, that one incident, one person, or however many people involved, a very small instance can have that massive ripple effect that can affect thousands of people or more. With
I
the
think
world
about
economy.
Like you said, what it affects. Well, whenever I used to work at Amazon, you think about one of our trucks being wrecked or being in that wreck or getting hit due to that, and so then that truck is down, and then those packages don't get there on time, and then they end up being a day or two late. You're talking 10 to 20,000 packages on one truck coming to a distribution center, and then having deadlines. And Amazon is crazy about their kind of customer commitments, right?
So shipping and all that.
Yeah, there was plenty of times where I would go through packages that were basically they came to the wrong delivery station. And so maybe they were supposed to be in Austin, or maybe they were supposed to be in Arkansas. Like, who knows where they were supposed to be, but somehow they ended up to like our place in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So I would collect a lot of them, and we would UPS ship them, and they would pay overnight 2-day air shipping to try to meet the customer promise date. And there's plenty of times where I look up what the package is, because like they pay for the insurance on it, and they need to know how much to insure the package for. So it pulls up the price of the goods that are inside the package. And I can't tell you the amount of packages I pulled up. They were $25, $30, $35, and we would pay $150 for overnight air shipping.
Wow.
Like, we were paying that much in shipping to use UPS to overnight air ship it to get a customer for a package that was literally worth $30.
That makes sense, though, because you kind of always hear, at least I have before, about Amazon losing money in a lot of their areas of the company because of just the way that they need to meet, and the efficiency and how they run things. It costs them sometimes more to send out a package. You know, they're not making money all the time.
Thinking into the business side of things, it really, that alone opened my eyes up to the value of the customer. And it might have cost you more for that one package, but that package may have saved a customer, and now they're a loyal customer, and their family is a loyal customer, and their friends are, all because there's that, idea around Amazon and its quality and its care for the customer and its commitment to those delivery dates. If you just had that constantly happening, and like a lot of times you don't even realize, it's not like they give you a tracking update, hey, we just paid this amount of dollars to ship your package overnight. Like, you don't get that. Yeah. It just shows up on your door, and maybe you're like, damn, this damn thing's a day late. Like, I needed it yesterday, and I missed it.
We're so spoiled, man.
We are, and you don't realize what goes into it, or maybe even return it or cancel it. There's so many packages that can cancel and stuff.
Well, it comes in on time, unless a big shipping container just goes into the side of a canal, or when an Amazon truck wrecks and causes a major backup.
Even whenever I was there over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we like the day before Christmas Eve, we were trying to get everything cleared out, which Amazon like kind of tells you, like, these things will not be delivered if you don't order before this date. Yeah. But we were trying to get every single package that was in the warehouse, no matter where it was or why it was there, whatever, it needed to be out of the warehouse. And Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, our managers were taking packages in their personal vehicles and delivering them like on their route home. Wow. Like, they would each take like 10 or 15 packages that was like close to where they live or where they were going, or put together some route just to get those packages like delivered. Dedication. Like, they were like, people were saying like, wow, thank you. Like, you just like, you made our Christmas. Like, this is like for my, for my son or something. Man. We didn't think it was going to come in time. And like, so for them, obviously it's nice to be able to like give back like that too, but it's just kind of a big commitment that Amazon makes. So I was proud to be a part of that, but also it was like kind of a business thing that stuck in my head, is like, wow, that's an important thing, and it's definitely something that's aided in their success, and in the long run, they are definitely making their money back on it.
Oh yeah, man. And on a good note, man.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of the social media that we're on. Restless Minds Podcast on Instagram, and restlessmindspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email us any questions or anything you want us to talk about.
Comments, things like that. Give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, and keep tuning in. And we'll be back with episode 20 in a couple weeks.
Cool. See you all in the next one.
Bye.
Peace.